Hello. Welcome to week 2 of ED 590. Here we are in week 2, diving into beginning chapter 1 of our capstone paper. Please email me if you have any questions or if I can provide you with any support this week. Thank you so much for your discussion board posts this past week. I appreciate the deep dive that you've already started in this course as you've started searching our library databases for additional primary original research studies that have a strong connection to both your research question and the program essential question for your program. Next, I would also like to remind you of all of the resources that are available to support you in this course. And so as we discussed last week, you can access a variety of resources by clicking on the Support Resources tab in D2L. Here you will find resources related to APA 7th edition, including a chart that walks you through how to complete both in-text citations and full citations for your references page for a variety of different types of sources, including journal articles, websites, books, and many others. You will also find the capstone template located here. And as a reminder, this is a required template and format. So please utilize this template as you begin developing your paper. In addition, the capstone guide and our course syllabus are also valuable resources for you. And so please review these documents carefully as you prepare to develop each section of your paper. We also briefly discussed BrainFuse last week. And as a reminder, BrainFuse is the one-to-one graduate program tutor found in D2L. And I would strongly encourage you to submit your paper here at least once each week as you develop each chapter of your paper. Also, individual Zoom meetings with me are available to you if you feel that you are stuck and unable to move forward. So please email me if you'd like to schedule a time to meet. An additional resource that you have access to is our librarian, Elizabeth Jacobson. And so if you have any library related questions, or if you need assistance with locating additional sources related to your topic and research question, I would encourage you to reach out to Elizabeth Jacobson. She is an excellent resource. So for week 2, here are the components of your capstone paper that you will be working on. First is the cover page. Second, we have the dedication and acknowledgement sections. These are both optional sections, so you may choose to include these sections or you may decide to delete these pages. At this point, you don't have to decide right now if you'd like to include them. You can leave them blank for now and then come back at a later time and decide whether you'd like to include one of these pages or both of these pages, or if you'd like to delete both of them. Next, we have the table of contents section, or the TOC. And so for now, please just include a general outline of your paper with a few page numbers. You can come back later to finish this section and fill in all of your page numbers. For the abstract section, at this point, you can start and make notes here or an outline if you wish. You can also leave this section blank for now and come back later to write it. So the abstract section is typically written last, as you will need information from all of the sources within your literature review to be able to discuss the key findings, results, and conclusions. And at this time, you may not have all 15 of your studies, or you may not be ready to discuss the key findings, results, and conclusions yet. And so that is okay. Please note that you will come back later to finish the abstract. And so for now, please just ensure that there is a page for this within your capstone paper. Next, we will walk through and look at the key components of Chapter 1. And so as you are developing Chapter 1, please remember that this chapter should be written in past tense using third person only. Also, do not include an introduction heading before the first paragraph of your paper. Rather, the title that you include on your cover page, that will serve as the introduction heading. Please also include at least 3 scholarly sources cited in this chapter that have a clear connection to your topic and research question. And so these sources may include the sources that you are planning to include within your literature review in Chapter 2, or they may be other scholarly sources. Please keep in mind as you are developing Chapter 1 that in-text citations should be used throughout the chapter. Also, Chapter 1 should be a minimum of 3 pages. It is okay to go a little bit longer than that 3-page guideline. However, you also want to strive to use concise writing. So please don't submit a Chapter 1 that is 15 pages long. Within Chapter 1, you will begin by providing a clear overview of the research topic. And it's very important in this section that you find a way to hook your reader. And this hook could be developed through the use of a quote or statistics. And so I would encourage you to please spend some time making this interesting this week, because you want to inspire your reader after they've read this introduction section to want to continue reading the rest of your paper. You also identify the scope of the problem that's being investigated in a logical sequence. And so within this scope section, please also identify the types of research studies that will be included in Chapter 2 of your paper. And so, for example, are you including qualitative studies, quantitative studies, mixed method studies, or a combination of all 3 of these? Also identify where the research took place. For example, was the research conducted in the United States, or was it conducted in various countries throughout the world? Please also identify some information about the students that you will be focusing on. So, for example, will you be focusing on kindergarten through 5th grade students or another age range? All of this information really helps to identify for your reader what they will be reading about within your capstone paper. Within Chapter 1, you will also identify the importance of the research and its connection to the field of education. In Chapter 1, please also include your full research question and the full program essential question, and then explain the connection between your topic and the program essential question. Then you will dive into completing the definition of terms section. And this definition of terms section should be substantially grounded in the literature. For this section, please choose 3 to 5 terms and list those terms in alphabetical order. Also, include an in-text citation from a scholarly source to support each of the definitions that you include. And the definition of terms section is a very important part of your capstone paper, but because it helps to ensure that both you and the reader are thinking of these terms in the same manner throughout your paper. And then finally, you will end Chapter 1 with a summary section. And the summary section should be made up of 2 paragraphs. In the first paragraph, please succinctly address what was covered in Chapter 1 and also briefly revisit the importance of your topic. And then in the second paragraph, note what you intend to cover in Chapters 2 and 3 using the chapter designations. Please submit your draft of this week's required components to the discussion board by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. And then please provide the colleague that you've been assigned to with feedback of support by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. And please use this peer review form that is attached within the discussion board to support you with the peer review process. And so I would encourage you to please take a deep dive into your colleague's paper this week and spend some time with providing them with feedback of support so that they can improve their paper. And so to earn your discussion board points this week, I will be looking for both your initial post with your paper and then also your reply to your colleague with your feedback of support. So here we are in week 2 with the first draft of your capstone paper due to the assignment section by Saturday at 11:59 p.m. We'll continue with this process of submitting drafts through week 5, and then the final capstone paper is due at the end of week 6, and the program completion summary and presentation is due at the end of week 7. So here are a few answers to some frequently asked questions about the capstone paper. First, please use sources from within the last 10 years. I would encourage you to look for sources that are no more than 5 to 7 years old. However, you can go all the way up to that 10-year range. That is okay and acceptable for your capstone paper. The exception to that 10-year time frame would be if you are including a landmark study. And so then this could be beyond that 10-year time frame. Also, you're submitting drafts of your paper each week for both peer and instructor feedback. And it's important to note that these are drafts that you're submitting. However, you really want to have as much writing as possible done when you submit these drafts so that you can get as much feedback as you can to help improve your capstone paper. As far as sources for the capstone paper, you're looking for a balance of qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method sources. Please note that your literature review in Chapter 2 requires at least 15 of these original studies. It's also important to keep in mind as you're looking for sources that if you find a source that is identified as a literature review, a systematic review, or as a meta-analysis, it would be considered a secondary source and would not count towards the 15 primary sources that your literature review in Chapter 2 requires. You can still cite these types of sources in your paper, perhaps in Chapter 1 or in Chapter 3. They would just not count towards the 15 primary original studies that Chapter 2 of your paper, the literature review, requires. So here are the discussion board questions for this week. So first, after viewing both of the videos, please post 2 things that resonated with you or that you found helpful. Please share a minimum of 1 thing from each video. And so please note that there are 2 videos to watch this week. And so please watch both of these videos before completing your discussion board posts. Your second discussion board focuses on the peer review process. So please post a draft of your paper by Thursday and then provide your assigned colleague with feedback of support by Saturday. And as a reminder, please ensure that you utilize the required capstone template when developing your paper. And so if you have any questions this week, please email me. I look forward to reviewing the first draft of your paper at the end of this week. I wish you blessings on your week, and I hope that you have a great week.